Can you hear me?
I can. Who is it?
This is Greg Nelson.
Oh, there's Greg. So did you also dial in addition to Zooming in?
I guess. I'm trying to figure it out. I've never done it before.
Well, Greg, it's nice to meet you, and I appreciate you dialing into the call. And we see your name up as if there were a picture there, but we don't see any picture yet. Or quite. I don't know if we're going to share anything on our screen today or not. I hadn't planned to, although we could if people had some questions about technology, etc. We have lots of diagrams that we can share with you, and we can talk about some of that stuff if we need to.
Yeah.
So Greg, you and I haven't met. I would let me take just a second and kind of introduce myself, and then I'll invite you to give us a couple of minutes and at least share with me a quick introduction about yourself too. So I'm Paul Hoyt, and the CEO of a company that Shane and I are currently doing with Ascending Harvest. Shane and I have been working together for about the last 2.5 years, I think it is, on a variety of different products, the primary one being Ascending Harvest. I'm getting ready for my third career. My first career was in information systems, which lasted about 30 years. For the last 18 years, I've been a business coach and a business consultant. And my next career is probably going to be as a personal coach and an inspirational speaker. So in the middle of all that comes this relationship with Shane, where I picked up the phone about 2.5 years ago and said, Shane, I don't know what we're going to do together, but I want to work with you. And we've had this adventure for the last 2.5 years trying to take his genius and bring it to the market in some successful way.
Sure.
How about you, Greg? Give me a couple of sentences that tell me who you are.
Well, Paul, I know Shane through a network of friends, and he asked me to be in on this conversation because I used to have hydroponic greenhouses up in Logan. Mm-hmm. So I'm aware of what the old system used to look like, growing primarily tomatoes and cucumbers, but at the same time, it was a successful operation. And so I guess that's why he asked me to be part of this conversation. And I'm not sure who all can hear us and if Shane's even on or not.
Shane is here.
I am here, Greg. I'm just sending out some notifications to people who said that they wanted to be here but haven't shown up yet. So I'm just sending out a quick reminder to let people know, hey, we are on the call.
All righty.
So how that goes. People say, oh yeah, I'm going to be on there, but then they forget about it or whatever.
Well, having never used Zoom, I'm surprised I've got it working.
It's a platform that's really taking over for a lot of meeting platforms.
Cool.
I used to GoToMeeting and GoToWebinar for, 15 years, maybe more than that, more like 17 years. And finally Zoom their technology was cheaper. I think the technology is better. The big thing I like about Zoom that was not available with GoToMeeting is the automatic live stream on Facebook. So you can live stream live if you choose to, which we are not doing, by the way.
Yeah.
Because that wouldn't be appropriate for this conversation today.
Sure.
It looks like we have somebody else has come on the call too.
I don't think so. So the 801-755 number is Greg.
Yeah.
So
I think it's just the three of us right now.
Okay. Well, I just got a text from Chris, and he said that he's still out traveling and he may be able to jump on for a while. It'll be on mute though.
Okay.
Anyway, well, yeah, I was excited to invite Greg because Greg is actually a pioneer in the hydroponics industry of growing food. He owns some property. Was it northern Utah or southern Idaho?
It was in Logan, Utah.
Okay, Logan. And didn't you say it was you had a hot spring there?
Just artesian wells.
Oh, an artesian well?
Yeah.
Was it a warm well?
It was not. It was warmer than normal, but I wouldn't say it was really a warm well.
Oh, okay. Okay, I misunderstood. When you were talking about it, I was picturing there's some kind of old greenhouses that are ramshackle on the Bear River where there is a hot spring. And the only way that you know it's a hot spring is when you pass it in the winter. You have to be on a pretty obscure back gravel county road to pass it. But when you talked about your growing operation, I didn't think that was necessarily yours, but that's what I was picturing in my head, because that is in the Cache Valley on the Bear River, and there's some disused greenhouses there now.
Huh.
Anyway,
mine, we had to punch a hole for it, and then the water came rushing out, but it was naturally a warmer water. And so, as I think I told you in the past, Shane, the co-op that I belonged to couldn't understand why my fruit was so much better, so much bigger. And so they sent out experts from Florida and realized that the water temp was warmer and that I had a little natural higher iron in the content. And so everybody put on water heaters on their greenhouses and add a little more iron into the mix, and suddenly everybody's doing what I was doing.
Wow. That's interesting. And when did you get out of that business, Greg?
Oh, very long time ago. Just back in 77.
Oh, that is a long time ago. 77 is like 40 years ago, a long time ago.
Yeah, and I really didn't belong to the co-op because I could sell everything locally to the market in Logan there, to the restaurants and the grocery store, so it was nice that I didn't have to ship mine.
So Greg is probably the only person that I've ran into that has been playing with hydroponics longer than I have.
Wow.
But Greg, correct me if I'm wrong, you didn't stay in the industry.
I did not. That's right. No, I sold my greenhouses and kept going. But it's always fascinated me, and I've watched it evolve over the years, and very interested, because of just seeing how well it did, And really, my interest has been primarily for personal type unit, like you came up with. How do people grow food at home?
Yeah.
Because there's so much good to it. I mean, and I don't know if you heard of Mint Lighter. He created systems, and I started studying under him down here in Salt Lake. But the Mint Lighter grow box method started a long time ago as well.
Yeah, I hadn't heard of the technology, but we got introduced to somebody who is using that technology and taking it to third world countries and primarily the Philippines, and helping them to grow using that technology. And I love that they're doing something. It still depends on, and I don't like it for humanitarian and third world applications because it's still relying on an outside input. It's still relying on, bringing in an outside nutrient. The system isn't capable of producing its own nutrients, and but they're still miles ahead of what other people are doing. But we're literally the only ones who are producing our own nutrients, at least in a systematic way. There's other people who are producing their own nutrients for their hydroponics, but they're doing it as a, it's inside baseball. It's their proprietary process and part of their proprietary technology. There's not anybody that has a nutrient resource production system that is that has it incorporated the way that we have. So we're still way ahead of the curve on that one.
Sure.
So Shane, we have some other people who have joined the call here. I'd like for them to introduce themselves for just a second or so, and then we're going to go ahead and get started. So we have somebody on the call who's identified himself as Tink. Would that be Abraham?
Yeah, can you all hear me all right?
Yeah, we can. Thank you.
God.
Good to have you on the call. Good to hear your voice again.
Yeah, I'm still alive. Don't worry about that.
Cool. And we've got one other person whose phone number ends in 5486. Don't know who that is. Oh, they are unmuted, but maybe they're not able to talk to us. So not knowing who that is, I'm going to start out with Shane and I decided that it was probably a really good idea to start out this conversation about business opportunities in the cannabis industry with a little bit of a legal disclaimer. So, we are talking about leveraging Shane's technology in legal ways in the cannabis industry. And that means in states where it's legal to grow residentially and consumer-wise, like Oregon and California and Colorado and Washington State and not Utah, and in places where other people have been granted grow permits of some kind, then we're interested in pursuing business opportunities in that. But we are in no way advocating or encouraging people to grow cannabis in any form or fashion in a way that's illegal. We won't support that. We won't have conversations with people who want to do that at all. What we're really interested in is talking to people who have some knowledge in the industry and have some insight into helping us figure out how we leverage Shane's technology into the cannabis industry and kind of develop a network or a community of people who are interested in this, either because they're just curious or because it's kind of a fun and exciting game that they would like to play to see whether or not we can do this successfully, or whether or not they actually want to participate in some way, in a new company designed specifically for this fashion, and perhaps monetarily or in some other fashion, or introduce us to other people. So whatever your level of participation is, we are welcome. We are excited to have your great ideas and have you on the team, with the single exception of we're not going to encourage you or support you in any way if you plan to grow cannabis in a fashion that's not perfectly legal. With that, was that good enough disclosure, Shane? Was that good?
Yeah, I think that will keep us out of jail, Paul.
I'm hopefully that the guys, as Shane was saying, the guys in the NSA van are probably real disappointed that they heard me say that, but we'll let them find somebody else to prosecute. Anyway, as I was telling Greg earlier, I picked up the phone a couple of years ago, 2.5 years ago, and talked to Shane and said, hey, I really wanted to work with him. I didn't know what that meant, but I was really excited about exploring the opportunity, because Shane's one of the very few people I've met who's really quite an inventor genius, a Leonardo da Vinci of our times. I'm very excited to hear about what he can do that I cannot do. And that is invents things using electronic things and pumps and other kind of mechanical things that is just pure genius. It's been my pleasure to see a lot of his inventions over the last 2.5 years. And now we think, and we know that we have an opportunity to take some of his technology and put it into the cannabis industry. And on 3 different levels we are pursuing. One is the consumer residential system. A second one is large-scale commercial farms. And the third area that we're pursuing is something in between, something in kind of a grow shed or a grow container environment. I thought that we would kind of frame it like that. We're not sure which ones of those market segments might be the best ones for us to pursue from a business point of view, and that's kind of the brainstorm that we want to have. But first, before we kind of get into the questions and answers and the brainstorming part of it, I want Shane to take just a few minutes and talk about the technology that I think you all know about, but let us remind you of the technology and why it applies in this industry and why other people are so excited about us and the opportunities that we have with Shane's technology in this industry. Shane, why don't you share with us a little bit?
Yeah, so I want to just hit some high points because I think most people are probably quite familiar with that we have a new technology. But so what I'd like to do is just hit a couple of high points of some standout things that make our technology completely different than anything else that has ever been available before. So the primary thing that's going to be of highest interest to the cannabis community is the fact that our technology is a combination of hydroponics and soil. So we have a hybrid system that we have hydroponic underpinnings that ensure that there is consistent and very high quality water and mineral and nutrient delivery to the plants, with the benefits of soil of giving us all those microflora and fauna, all of the biology, worms, nematodes, fungus, all of that great stuff that's in natural organic soil that gives us the pH buffering and the nutrient availability to the plants that will ensure that the very highest quality genetics that are available in that plant will be expressed, that we can turn on those epigenetic triggers in that plant and make sure that that plant is the highest quality and a completely natural product. You know, one of the problems in the industry is somebody goes to a dispensary and they have no idea what was used to grow that cannabis. They could talk about what was tested and what showed up, but they have no idea how that was grown. It doesn't matter how they're consuming it. They could be consuming it as an edible, as an oil. They could be smoking it. It doesn't matter how they're consuming that for their medicinal needs. If pesticides were used on that plant, they're consuming pesticides. If herbicides and fungicides were used on that plant, they're consuming those. And so we want to give people an opportunity to consume a product that is absolutely natural and that they can have great confidence in how their medicine was grown. A couple of other things that I want to point out is we literally have the only technology in the farming world that we have a biodigestion system built right into every single container. And why is that important? If you look at nature, nature takes standing water and there's naturally occurring anaerobic bacteria in that standing water that breaks down the organic materials that flow into that. So anywhere there's a swamp, anywhere there's a termination for water, that standing water breeds anaerobic bacteria. And why is this so important for nature? Anaerobic bacteria creates a fermentation. That fermentation creates a slight acid in that water. That acid in that water can leach out the minerals that are non-soluble. So water, there's lots of water-soluble minerals that plants want, but what about the non-soluble minerals that are present? Things like copper and zinc and and some of our other important minerals that plants need and utilize, those are not broken down without this anaerobic bacteria. And so the traditional way of delivering these minerals is to have a centralized system with a large sump and large pumps and manifold systems and all these delivery manifolds directed to each and every plant to make sure that nutrient flow is happening to the roots of every single plant, and dosing the system and having a great deal of knowledge and equipment and technology to make sure that exactly the right amount of minerals, like Greg said, in his process, you know, his water naturally had iron in it and his vegetables were growing bigger. And so when other people found out why his produce was growing so much bigger in his hydroponics, they started replicating that by artificially introducing the iron into their water. Well, our process will take those nutrients that are available that in our soil mixture and in our nutrient, our proprietary nutrient that is a consumable that we can sell to our clients. Our process will naturally unlock those minerals and make them bioavailable to the plant. So that's something that nobody else does. The other thing that our bioprocessing chamber has is it has an oxygenation. The oxygenation is very, very important to clean that water, to kill any pathogens that are in that water. But oxygenation does another thing. There's another way to break down minerals and compounds, and that is through oxidation. When you have high oxygen levels in your water nutrient system, it does several things for you. It oxidizes compounds that allows it to break it down, and that air supplies 3 nutrients that the plants need: oxygen, CO2, and nitrogen. The bacteria that is in the soil helps to break that down. For example, the nitrogen in air is not in a form that the plant can absorb, but the naturally occurring bacteria in the soil convert that to a nitrogen that then the plants can absorb. So what we've done is we've looked at nature and said, nature has these processes. How can we construct a system that will basically hypercharge and do exactly, I shouldn't say do what nature does. What it does is it gives nature an opportunity to do what nature already does. We just make sure that the components that nature utilizes to do these things are present in our technology so that nature has every opportunity to do what it already does. And that allows us to put raw organic materials in our system as a nutrient and feed our plants 100% naturally. And we've proven this by growing tomatoes. And the only thing we fed those tomatoes all summer long, aside from the nutrients that were already in the soil, is we fed those tomatoes dandelion greens and burdock greens. That's all those tomatoes were fed, and they thrived because our system could break that organic material down and turn it into nutrient for the plants.
That's awesome. So thank you for that brief description. I heard a lot of value propositions in that. You know, because of course, we've been working on this for a while. The 3 ones that really pop out to me are less infrastructure costs because of the intelligent grow media and the property and natural wicking action that it has. You know, there's not near the infrastructure required for hydroponic circulation pumps and that sort of stuff. It also consumes a lot less resources when plants are when these systems are in operation. Consumes less labor resources and consumes less energy in the form of electric energy for the pumps and for the lights themselves, and delivers, we think, the purest quality possible through the natural processes that we mimic with the soil and the anaerobic chambers and the oxygenation, and the complete organic system that we have. So I'm excited about the value proposition, the economic value proposition, in addition to the psychological value proposition. If you can have a system that produces the highest quality possible, at a much less reduced cost, I think you've got something we can talk about there.
Yeah,
well, it's truly organic. I like that it's truly an organic process.
That's really good languaging, Greg. I like that. It's a true organic process, unlike other hydroponic systems, because we do actually combine soil with it.
Right. And as I understand it, changes the taste. It does a lot of good.
Yeah, I wish that I had enough tomatoes last year to share with everybody. The tomatoes I grew last year, typically tomatoes grown hydroponically are not the zestiest. They don't have the most flavor. Especially in hydroponic system, that they're just concerned about rapid growth and production values. I've tasted hydroponic tomatoes that taste every bit as cardboard as tomatoes that were grown in a corporate synthetic fertilized field. So,
Yes, and I've tasted them where they're as good as anything I've ever had too. So it depends on what you're mixing with it.
Right. If you know what you're doing and you have the knowledge required to be able to dose your hydroponic technology with exactly what the plants need, if you have that much knowledge, then you can do what we're doing. But you have to have an awful lot of knowledge and you have to stay on top of it. And our technology allows you to visit it, weekly, let's say.
Yeah.
Just making sure that you have enough water in your system, adding some of our proprietary nutrients. And if you knew enough about the nutrients of plants, you could create your own proprietary nutrient and not even require ours. But how many people know that? That's the challenge, is how many people have that kind of information and that kind of knowledge. And so I think the highest value proposition, regardless of who's using the system, is that the information of nature's information and nature's code is baked into our technology. In fact, our technology is only supporting it. We're not replacing it. We're supporting what nature already does and helping nature optimize her process. And so really what we're doing is we're leveraging technology to give nature the best opportunity to do what she does. And once that's done, then you can simply step out of the way and just follow the steps, and nature will do everything else.
Well, I find it absolutely fascinating that been able to come up with a system like this, because it really does combine best of both worlds.
Yeah, that's exactly right. The value proposition is that you get the advantages of hydroponics without the liability. You get the advantage of soil without requiring the knowledge of how to amend and water and care for that soil, because both those systems are symbiotic to each other. Our technology, the material science, is symbiotic to the soil science, and vice versa. That's really something different. So the purpose of this call was to to do some brainstorming. And, you know, one of the challenges that Paul and I are having is we have these three strong directions that we can go. And the good news is that the base technology, whether we're talking about a residential system that's going in a grow tent in somebody's closet or a spare bedroom, or a system that's going into a commercial greenhouse, or a system that's going into an automated indoor farm, the base technology of the grow container is exactly the same. There's just a little bit of difference in how it's connected to each other and the amount of care that the user needs to put into each system. But the base technology is absolutely identical across all three platforms. The challenge for us, though, is deciding where do we put our emphasis first, because it's really hard to launch a company and try and jump into multiple directions all at once. So we wanted to get some feedback from other people and also be able to share the opportunity for people that might want to come in, you know, in more of a participation level with us and work with us as a founding member of the team. So that's really the purpose of the call, is to get feedback about these three areas of business, to talk about how we leverage the technology into those areas, and then also offer up some participation for people to be able to join us or to be able to introduce us to people that might want to join us.
Cool. Shane, and I'm not sure if the gentleman who has called in on 5486 is able to say hello. We'd love to know who that is, and also have them an opportunity to ask questions and get their insights. Get their insights. My world changed about 6 or 7 years ago when I realized that God didn't give me all the good ideas, that there's a lot of other people out there that have a lot of good ideas too, and they get kind of scattered around. Divine inspiration gets scattered around to lots and lots of people, so I'm open to hearing the inspiration, the ideas that come from everybody here. Abraham, you've been kind of quiet here. What kind of questions do you have, or insights or comments do you have, having heard our conversation here for the last few minutes?
Can y'all hear me?
We can.
Yeah? Okay, groovy. Shane, could you just repeat those three areas of business that you want participation and like organic growth of? I just need to hear that one more time.
Yeah, so the three areas that we feel like we have the strongest value proposition is home growers, so residential growers, people who want to grow their own product, their own medicine. Our primary value proposition there is that they don't have to be an expert. We have a systematic approach that will allow them to grow their own product without having the knowledge of the nutrient and soil science side of things. So that segment. The other segment is the large scale, well, both small and large scale commercial growers. And those growers could be growing outside, they could be growing indoors, or they could be growing in a greenhouse. Mm-hmm. And our value proposition to them is that we give them an additional safety factor, because we give them the opportunity to grow all of or a portion of their crops in a completely natural way, which gives them a higher value proposition to the dispensaries, where they can let the dispensaries tour their facility and see that where they're using our technology, that cannabis is grown absolutely without any chemical input, because we have some nutrient technology that will help fight the pests, help fight the fungus, and help fight the so there's no need for the herbicides, fungicides, and pesticides. So that puts them in a higher value proposition for that product. And then the third is the large-scale indoor automated growing, which it's the same base technology. We just add some automation to the system so that somebody who is creating a new grow, for example, and they want to have more monitoring technology, they want to have more sophisticated light and airflow and other things that can be built into the technology, better reporting technology, things like that. Our base technology doesn't change, but our engineering and our automation offering is different for that market. So it's kind of an add-on market.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah. All equally impressive for sure. Just so y'all know, Shane and I had like 5 minutes or so to meet for coffee earlier, so I have a little first impression of this. And I'm delighted at the prospect of helping to deliver such a message. Like for the home growers, honestly, reach them where they live. And I would urgently suggest that you use your own language. Here's some of your own medicine. Bam, start there. That's where you start the conversation dialogue maybe. You know, for those without the experience, for those looking for that systematic approach. Secondly, the large and small commercial outer indoor people. Okay, you're elevating natural value. Bam, there it is. You know, no muss, no fuss, unvarnished, direct to the heart of what's at issue for those naturalists, I think, as you described them earlier. Would that fit those people, maybe? So I would definitely appeal to that natural value, additional safety and natural value. You know, that's wow, that's amazing. You know, without any asides, without any pesticides. You know, you can have fun with that. You know, and where do those people live? Large or small commercial? Well, they're on LinkedIn and they're on Facebook. You know, the home growers, they're going to be more on Instagram. They're going to be on Facebook. The small, large people, they're going to be on Facebook and Instagram, of course. The large corporate people, obviously, going to sit at LinkedIn a lot. Elsewhere, you know, other exclusive online communities. So for those indoor people, those exclusive technocrats, we'll call them, who've got both the naturist instinct and the penchant for automation, you give them an opportunity to, let's see, that new grow, automated grow, new grow, auto grow, appeal to what is most essential to your value proposition there, and meet them where they talk about their stuff. Simple as that would be my approach. I would create content around that message of automation and ease, you know, that facilitates tighter control for those who are maybe need to see those numbers to validate, you know, the technology in that way, that need to see the numbers so that they can chart it out and map and see the growth and correlate that with their fiscal budgets and their years and things. That's kind of my 2 cents, Shane, as a beginning.
If I may, I'd like to just give a little plug here for Abraham. Abraham, as you might be able to tell, is a fabulous communicator, and he thinks about everything through a communication lens and how you're saying something and how it's being received. And so thank you so much for that input, Abraham. You're awesome.
Yeah, brother, I'm delighted to be a part of this conversation. Thank you.
Yeah, I really like that. I like the value proposition to the consumers of easy, safe medicine. And talk about that, because if you call it medicine as opposed to recreational substances, then having it be easy and having it be safe, I think it raises the level of desire to have it a lot. I like that. I like calling it a medicine. Grow your own medicine. And whether
I think specifically your bit. Sorry, Paul. Yeah, the your bit's really important. Give them the ownership and, you know, let them nurse that idea. I mean, Shane mentioned to me that mothering nature component, right? Your own medicine. We're not calling nature's medicine, but they all identified immediately with nature's medicine because of our presentation. Mm-hmm. It's going to be explicitly implicit, you know? Weird, but okay.
I like it. And Abraham, just off the top of your head, are you getting any intuitive hits about where we should go with this and what market segments we should pursue first?
Okay. Having done a fair tour of all the dispensaries on the Pacific Northwest as of late, just got back to it. Hey, I was there. I was checking it out, seeing what's going on. Because I have other related
market research.
Yeah, absolutely. With the outdoor company that I'm helping out, man, crazy connection. Anyway, think about home growers and home practitioners who attend musical concerts. I see a huge cross-segmentation potential there for home growers, right? Any activation that puts control back in someone's life is going to be immediately appealing to anybody scrapping up for a better life, better period. You give them a simple, easy, basically turnkey solution, and it's legal and it's legit, right? We don't have to sweat any of that nonsense. So bang, there you go, here you go. At a reasonable cost, and we know it's not prohibitive, right? We're not putting it on shelves, we're putting in medicine in their heart, right? We're not putting it in the freaking cabinet. It's your own medicine, right? Better than what your mom gave you. Holy shit, there we go. Who knows? But small, large commercial people, I mean, really, the dispensary, I mean, the thing is, you can only get an ounce for pleasure, such is the pity. I mean, granted, there are, dispensaries on just about every block, so, you just take the tour. But that gets a little old after, 6 or 7 or 20 dispensaries, right? No one wants to pick up 20 ounces that way. That's absurd. But I'm being silly. I'm totally being silly. But, there's a limitation of what recreational people can purchase. So if you plug that into the recipe of how do we facilitate a greater connection, a greater gravitas, a greater strength in that value proposition, well, hey, look, you can only buy an ounce at a time for any dispensary. Grow your own ounce. Save your $50. Keep in mind, it's also programmed a lot cheaper in the legal states to buy recreationally than it is to buy on any street that I've ever been on. Okay? There's also that consideration. You got to consider those people. Think about any potential person who might have an interest in growing their own. Don't limit it to just the demographic that you see at the petrol station, right? It's everybody. Small and large commercial outlets, inlets, egress to that community of thinkers and peoples, movers and shakers. Talk to entrepreneurs. Think of the whole proposition as a value add, right? Nature's way. People corny up on that phrase. But how natural is it? Start the conversation there. How natural do you think it should be? Let's test it out, right? For those disbelievers, those fence crawlers, give them something to chew on. Put it in their own hands and let them validate that system approach. Boom. I don't know. Because we had a brief discourse about it, Shane and I today, about putting product in people's hands to use. Like my Tamic thing.
Mm-hmm.
The best way to get people grooving on that is to put it in their hand and let them play with it. Oh, it's that easy. It takes less than half a second to put that baby together. And then I'm swinging in a Tamic on a beach in a tent with my dog. Boom. There you go. Take it anywhere. Again, home growers. If it's a mobile system, and people are mobile these days, are they living in a truck? A lot of people living at the corporate level, mid-level, they're living in vans now, traveling while they work. So they're tribal, These are just thoughts off the top of my head. I have no data, right? Just because I move around a lot and I talk to a lot of different people. But the large automation, I begin to think about Hall Labs, people like that, what they could do to kindle for the larger positivity in this ascending cannabis.
I'm glad you brought up the term ascending cannabis because, we've been focusing on ascending harvest. I just threw out the name ascending cannabis because I didn't know what else to say. But I'm concerned about the brand confusion and the overlap in having, the ascending harvest, purely humanitarian venture to feed people all around the world somehow being confused with, or the brands getting in the way of each other. So I really think we ought to drop the term ascending from it.
Then just call it Cannabis Rising.
Something, yes, I kind of like that too. We have another person join the call identified as Mike Aptizo. Pardon me if I'm mispronouncing that. I just wanted to give you a second. I'm going to take you off of mute and give you a second to say hello to everybody and give us a couple of seconds, a couple of paragraphs maybe of introduction, if you would, Mike.
Yeah, it's Michael Gray.
Oh, great.
Yeah, I know Nate. I know you guys, Shane, and from BMG, and so just wanted to pop in and listen to what you're doing. As of late, I'm just running into a lot of cannabis growers doing various different things that are pretty exciting, and I've connected Shane into a few of them, but even more as of late. So I'm a branding guy, kind of a multi-preneur, and so always doing different things, but very interested in cannabis just because of, you know, some of the pain that I've experienced in my life, having a ruptured L4 and L5 disc and not being able to walk and taking Oxycontin and stuff that, you know, is evil basically. And so, yeah, very interested in, you know, helping people who are in pain. So, yeah.
Mike, would you like to just make a couple of comments here? We had a conversation a few weeks ago, and Mike is heavily connected into marketing products on Amazon, and we had a conversation about putting grow systems on Amazon. Right now, anything that's cannabis or CBD related, they yank off of there. But we can approach this from a produce growing technology on Amazon, because it's the same system, right? We're just for the cannabis market, we're just all of the technology is exactly the same as the human powered. We replace the hand pump with an aquarium pump and a timer, and the system's a larger system. It's larger to give that plant the absolute optimal opportunity to grow as large as you want to grow it and have as enough root space to support whatever you need that plant to do medicinally, nutritionally, growth size, whatever you're looking for. We're going to create a system that's a 25, 30-gallon system as opposed to our humanitarian system that's a 13-gallon system. So we're basically doubling the size of the system to ensure that this very high-value crop has everything available to it, that it lacks absolutely nothing. So can you use that to grow tomatoes and cucumbers and melons and squash and beans and anything else you want? Absolutely. Can we sell it on Amazon and not talk about cannabis? But sell it as a turnkey, natural way to produce your food? Yeah, we can do that. And Mike, would you like to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So I work with a guy, Nathan Bailey. He works with this guy named Jim Cockrum. They have a community of online sellers that is about 52,000 people on Facebook. These are some of which are very successful online sellers, some of the biggest products that sell on Amazon. Their community of people are always looking for things to sell. And so, you know, there's that opportunity. But, you know, working with Nathan is just, I mean, the guy is just an extremely knowledgeable online seller, but really understands Amazon, really understands, you know, all, you know, sort of, you know, the big guys, Jet, Walmart, all those guys. And so when I talked to him about it, I said, hey, what if we kind of did one of these systems? And, you know, it's just like everything else. It goes, yeah, we got to find the golden gaps, got to find places, the keywords that people are searching for that'll draw more people to it that, you know, don't understand to look for hydroponic or look for these other things. And so we can help look at that and help identify that. As well as that, I'm also working with this guy, Aaron Peterson, who sells the second most shipping containers in all of North America. And Aaron and I are working on different products for that. And so if they wanted to do something even at a larger scale, we could potentially, put together a product with you guys out of a shipping container. And I just recently posted a post up, for a sort of a shipping container garden, and it got really awesome response with hardly any real, ad spend. So I know that people are looking for these things, and I would suspect that a lot of those people are thinking about, growing cannabis and, jumping into this world. So
I like the shipping container garden. I like the value proposition of saying, grow your own fruits and vegetables and medicine, in the safest possible way.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, it's not, you're not limited, when you say medicine, people can take that for what they want.
They can.
Like herbs are medicine.
Yeah, you could.
I want Greg to jump in here for a second. He's got something to say.
Well, I was just going to say, when you say grow anything, I think that'll get their attention. You can grow anything, there lies, you don't have to worry about if you're saying cannabis, but
Yeah,
when you're on Amazon.
Let people fill in that equation. Don't sell them sell them the phrase of medicinal. Let them fill it with their own meaning.
right. I mean, you can say, grow your food and medicinal herbs. People who are already tied into cannabis are going to go, oh, I know what my medicinal herb is. Which, hey, Greg,
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Greg, you are an expert in hydroponics. You're one of the pioneers in hydroponics. Tell me, what hydroponic system have you ever seen that could grow rosemary?
Yeah, well, you can pretty much grow anything still hydroponically, but what I like about this system is it's so organic. It's so natural. So it takes out so much of the guesswork. It's huge,
Well, let me ask you the question in a different way. Tell me about a hydroponic technology that can grow basil and rosemary side by side in the same container.
Well, I've never tried it, so I can't tell you really. Other than, it's amazing what you can grow in these damn greenhouses.
Well, the reason that you can't even in your garden, you cannot grow basil and rosemary next to each other, because basil likes a very, very wet, swampy soil. It wants all the water you can give it. It'll grow in a glass of water, right? If you buy it at the grocery store, they tell you to take it home and put it in water. So basil loves the water. Rosemary will only grow if you give it a very dry soil, a very well-drained dry soil. That's what it wants. You can't grow those in your garden side by side, and you can't grow them in hydroponics side by side. Guess what? They'll grow side by side in our system. I've done it for years, growing basil and rosemary side by side, just to prove the point that our technology has all the water levels in it from saturation to dry, so that the roots will go down and seek the moisture level that they desire. And that's exactly why we call it intelligent grow media, because it works with the natural intelligence in the plant. And our conversation just reminded me of that feature. And really what that does is it makes it impossible for a user to overwater or underwater their crop. That's part of when I say that we've baked the intelligence of nature into the technology, that's part of what I'm talking about. And so I just got reminded of that, and I wanted to share that while we've got so many people on the call. I see we've got Derek on.
Yeah.
Let's give Derek a chance to share his story, because it's really fascinating and exciting.
Derek, I'm trying to unmute you from my end, but I'm not able to do that. Can you unmute yourself and say hello? I'm just seeing a static picture. It seems like his signal may be frozen, and it does look like he's traveling in a car.
Okay.
So I think he was with us, but he may not actually be there. Anyway, we get a chance to look at his face with those really cool glasses. I mean,
Yeah.
But I really think your biggest market's still going to be to the homeowner, to the personal level, because that's where people can get what they can do with this system. You know, they can grow what they want. They can, get as big as they want at home. This allows them to be totally organic in a way that we know organic, where the dirt gives it its flavor, where all the things that are good with dirt, but with the positive hydroponic side of it as well. You eliminate the residual crap that's in there from the pesticides, as you say. Get rid of the contaminants that go into this other that you can get with hydroponics, and get the kind of potency that you're looking for.
cool. So Greg, if we decided to say, hey, we're just going to focus on the consumer and residential marketplace, should we offer a small, medium, and large? Should we offer the large being something like a grow shed or something in a grow container, some sort of a medium system where you could easily grow, let's say 6 tomato plants, which are legal in California, or and then a single plant system as well?
You put up a good point. To me, you just add to whatever you want. I did not know there were different sizes you're talking about for the home use.
Well, there are only because we can invent them. I just kind of made that up. I'm a big fan of small, medium, and large. I'm a big fan of giving people either 2 or 3 choices, no more. Product management, or category management. Science essentially says if you give people 3 choices, you'll sell more of everything.
Well,
You want to do that
back
on
to the thing, in my hydroponic situation, what this takes care of is if you lose any one of your things, be it the pump goes out, be it your air conditioning goes out, you're down. You kill 3 months of production. This has enough of a buffer that that's not a problem. I mean, it's really, it makes a huge difference knowing that it's hard to kill it. So there's so many positives to it.
Greg, it is so valuable that you came on this call with all your experience because that's exactly right. And a lot of times we get pointed down a path and we have blinders on. And so one of the things that's been exciting is to communicate with growers, and the thing that I've been talking to growers about is that exact safety proposition that you just stated right there. What happens if you lose a pump? What happens if you get a plugged line? And as you know, by the time you manifold your lines down to the individual plants, you've got 1/4 inch or less tubing delivering that water and nutrients, and that can algae up, that can plug up, or you might have a little emitter on the end of that delivery system, especially if you're growing it outdoors where you have elevation differences to deal with. You have to have, some emitter on the end that really limits the flow so that gravity doesn't beat you up and deliver all your water and nutrient to one part of your field. So having that safety.
One thing about the mechanical, it will fail at some point.
That's right. Mechanical will fail at some point. And we can build redundancy so inexpensively into our system because the only mechanical component is a small aquarium air pump, and they're super cheap and they're super energy efficient. So you could put 3 or 4 of them, how much ever redundancy you want in your system, you can build by just putting additional pumps. And they use so little energy that if you were really concerned about it, you could put a battery backup on that to make sure that You always have power there. But the truth is our system works off of periodic dosing. And so I've been able to have systems operating that I've let go intentionally without dosing them with any water or nutrient, without running that pump for 5 days before I started to see the stress in the plants. And that I know for sure. And this was without soil. This was intelligent grow media only. There was no soil in this system. And I let it go for 5 days before that intelligent grow media started to get dry enough that I started to notice some wilting of the leaves on the plants. And as soon as I put water and nutrient to them, of course, they bounced right back. Right. So the safety factor there, that's huge. That's huge.
People mess with the pH, and I know that one of my meters read wrong, and I overdosed, and next thing I've got 750 tomato plants looking like I've killed them, you know. So next thing you pull flush system and hope for the best. Well, the crazy thing is it turned out to be the best greenhouse I ever had. You know, something about causing stress can cause a great, but anyway, nature's amazing, but your system's almost foolproof in the way it looks to me.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's why it makes such a good humanitarian product, and why we started there, because we realized we have a very high value proposition for people who've never grown their own food. And so we bring that same value proposition to people who've never grown their own medicine.
I think, you know, it should be everywhere, that's for sure, in my opinion.
I love it. I love it. Derek, I see that you're still on the call. I don't know if you are or not. I still cannot unmute you, unfortunately. If you can hear me, Derek, you may want to drop off and dial back in so we can actually have a conversation here. And I'm still not sure who dialed in with 5486.
That's actually Chris. Chris said he was going to join us on the call. He's traveling, and he said that he would join on the call and listen in.
Well, Chris, thanks for joining us. Any ideas you have, insights? You know, I'm holding space that divine inspiration is going to come to every one of us on this call, and we're going to share ideas with each other, and it's going to be a wonderful thing. That's what we want. We wanted a brainstorming collaboration call to talk about this market. So far, I'm hearing a lot of encouragement to pursue a consumer market with the value propositions of being easy and safe, an easy and safe way to grow your own medicine in a purely organic way, you know, where you can go away for the weekend and you can go, you know, if the electricity goes out, you get one of these 48-inch snowfalls that Salt Lake City is so famous for, or excuse me, not Salt Lake City, Colorado, because, well, it would be tomatoes in Salt Lake City. But in Colorado, a 48-inch snowfall, you could still, you know, be gone to a ski weekend and come back and have a good crop of tomatoes or whatever.
Yeah.
So one of the things Bruce Larange was hoping to join us today, and he's just not available. But, you know, Bruce and I sat down and we talked about this, and Bruce is an absolute marketing genius. I mean, and the other thing about Bruce is he is a people magnet. People love Bruce because he is genuinely an amazing and wonderful guy. When I sat down with Bruce, I wish he could say this in his own words, but he feels like if we can work with some growers, and if we could work with some growers, they have the highest intrinsic value with the product, because right now they've got so much at risk, and like everybody who's growing cannabis, they're very limited to the number of plants they have, and so they have to maximize production for every plant. There's a lot of risk there. There's a huge opportunity cost when there's a failure, massive opportunity cost. And And we did some, not Bruce and I, but myself and a grower did some opportunity cost analysis, and we calculated that the average grower would add $800 to $1,500 of value per plant because of the mitigation of losses, both to chemical signature testing and plant failure, if they were to switch over to our system. And so that's a huge value add. And if we could get into a couple of growers with that high intrinsic value, and that we should seek those folks out to get our initial funding, and that would give us a great way to get started. And honestly, I have yet to talk to a grower that says, no, I wouldn't want to try this system. So I think once we have our materials ready and we know what we want to do, and we have a well-defined direction, I think it'd be a good time to start approaching growers and say, hey, let's implement this for 5% of your crop right now. And let's just test it with 5% of your crop, or whatever, 5%, 10%, or whatever feels really safe to them. Because many of these growers are losing more than that test percentage of their product now, because it's not passing the chemical signature test, or because they have crop failure, or because they're not getting the full potential growth out of the plant. There's a lot of opportunity losses in the industry because of these different factors. And if we can demonstrate with a few growers that we're mitigating that loss, that would be huge.
Yeah. How do we find those growers? That's been our real challenge, is finding that first person who's willing to give us a shot.
I've got a couple. I was going to talk to Shane about that. So,
thank you.
Yeah, all viable directions, honestly. I can see it anyway, because as you know, I come from farming, where Granddad, when he bought a township, we grew it by the square mile, so and irrigated it. So
wow,
I know that it takes what it takes to get it to the market, but because things are so much different with this plant or this product, yours seems to be a solution that nobody really has but you. And I'm in awe that you came up with it.
Well, Greg, coming from somebody who's a pioneer in the industry, that statement carries a lot of weight. Can we get your written endorsement?
Absolutely, but it's going to cost you a tomato.
Okay.
Hey, there we got the.
There's Derek, there's the sunglasses guy. Hang on, Derek. I have you. There you are. Say hello to us, buddy.
Hi, how's everyone doing? I'm sorry I came in and I had another call that I had to take as well, and I didn't realize it was going to be a Zoom call when I got it. I just thought you guys would be, but this is all good. How's everyone doing today?
We are awesome.
Fantastic. Derek, would you like to share a little bit of your story? I intentionally did not share any of your story because I wanted it to come directly from you.
Okay. My name is Derek Childs, and I am the director of construction and design for Container Homes USA, of which my wife is the CEO, branding member. So what we do is we take shipping containers, 20-footers, 40-footers, standards, or high cubes, and we repurpose them into, recreational, residential, industrial, and commercial products. So we build dispensaries up in Detroit. We design dispensaries. We design homes, recreational products, just about anything, fracking systems. anything you can do with a regular stick-built home, I can build you with shipping containers. I'm a master carpenter in the Carpenters Union, 28 years, and I have 18 years into the bricklayer stonemasons, and I primarily function doing large stone jobs for casinos and courtyard Marriotts. So pretty versed in everything that needs to be done. I don't know why this keeps going out, but it's okay. So construction is what I do. I know all trades of construction: electrical, the plumbing, the roofing, the windows, doors, the concrete, flooring, all of that. I do all of it.
We had a conversation a few weeks back, and Derek has some opportunities to build grow containers, cannabis grow containers for some clients. And so we're talking about incorporating our technology into those grow containers. And we're both very busy people, so we haven't had a chance to touch base. What do you see, Derek, as the potential of that marketplace?
In the cannabis growing marketplace?
Yeah, for
I would say every single time a state becomes legal, it's a minimum of $100 million. I mean, it's probably in the billions, at least. So I would just say, even if you got in and you got 5% of the market, you're still over 10 million, easy. And that's just starting. Once the product really gets out there and then it gets proven, because there's going to be a learning curve. You know what I mean? Everyone's going to be a little timid. Everyone's, because there's so much out here. And it's just a matter of just creating a quality product.
Cool.
And as long as you can create that quality product, you're going to be able to sell it. It is a saturated market, but if you think like I think, the glass half full and the cream's going to rise to the top, so it don't matter to me.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, it's all about who you know. And I know some very...
System is amazing. I'm just amazed at what Shane has come up with. I'm in awe of it, because as I say, up till this, I've never seen anything really that different.
Cool. So Derek, I would love to work with you and talk about next steps and how we can drive this forward, because we'd love to get Shane's technology in one of your existing units, something that's already been built, or please, brother, give us a chance. We'd love to do that.
Well, I would love to, and when I met them, I think they understood when I was there that Aaron, introduced us. So, I'm kind of attached, you guys, and if you guys let me know what you need, if it's about a prototype, like I said, I'll do a prototype. Whatever the cost is, that's it. It won't be anything extra on it, because we got to really find out true cost to build this. I mean, it's got to be scalable. It's got to be replicable. And it's got to be able to be done in the masses. Just so you guys know, not only do we build shipping container, products, residential, commercial, industrial, recreational, but I have the largest manufacturing facility in the United States producing shipping container products, period. There's no one. We have a 400,000 square foot manufacturing where we chop them up, weld them up, paint them up, wrap them, whatever you want done to them. It doesn't matter. We do it all. So whatever the volume is, the volume will have no problem meeting the demand. But the first couple things is we need to do is we need to actually build a model all the way out. How do we fund that? I don't know that particular part, but I will give time and materials. That's what I can do to try to make this happen. And then after you get to that point, then you start going to the 5 or 6 cannabis festivals that go on throughout the United States, and we will it right in there, set it right down, pay for our spot.
Love it.
I think we can probably, one of these growers that I know might, be interested in, helping fund the prototype, and then, obviously be a part and help, distribute the product once it's done. So as far as the shipping container stuff goes, as far as your guys' stuff goes, the same thing. So what I found out about these growers is a lot of them want to get into the end game too. And so there's, you'd be surprised how open they are to, building out products, because they have clients, right? They've got people who are giving them 10 grand for an acre of property and then trying to get them 2x on their return. Well, if they can say, hey, in addition to that, we can provide a home container for you to grow for your family, or an internal, grow system, I think that could be something they could just provide, and even in some case give to their investor. So.
Mm-hmm. Is there Shane, is there any portion of from what the demonstration you showed me over and over and over there made my eyeballs hurt. I kept having to look at this and couldn't believe it was truly happening. There are no energy resources needed, no?
Well, you do, yeah, it takes about our systems for cannabis will take about 1/8 of a watt of energy per day per plant. So that means if you have a grow container that's growing 8 plants, you're going to use about 1 watt of energy a day to supply the water and nutrient.
Okay.
Now in that container,
okay, so
if you give it a greenhouse top, there's going to be certain times of the year that you're still going to need some artificial light in there. If you don't give it a greenhouse top, you've got to put artificial light in there. If you give it a greenhouse top, we still have to have some artificial light in there because cannabis, there's times of its grow period that it needs lots of light. We want to give it that so it gets all the growth it can get. So you're going to have some energy load from those lights, and those lights run. The LED lights for growing cannabis is the energy load on that's going to be anywhere from 1,200 to 2,500 watts, depending on, or even up to 3,000 watts per plant, depending on what stage of growing it's in. So your daily energy load on that, if you're in the stage where you're giving that light for 18 hours a day, you can do the math.
Well, it'd be around 13 hours. You're closer to 13 hours for the growing.
Okay. Well, Greg, you're an expert. I'm not.
Well, no. I mean, then it goes to 14 hours of dark to flower,
Right. So there is an energy load in the system for heating, cooling, and lights. But the energy load for my technology, if every 8 plants you're using 1 watt. In fact, the timer that you use to make sure that your pumps turn on and off is using more energy than the pump and the systems.
That's wild.
Oops, Derek, we didn't hear you there, buddy. Let me unmute you. Or unmute yourself, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
I don't even know how that happened. I've never used this system before. Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
My question to you is, okay, in this industry, what I'm finding, I know just about over half of the dispensary owners in Michigan, because now it's getting ready to go recreational. And with it going recreational allows every single person to have 12 plants of their own.
Wow.
That's huge.
Guess what the market would be? Let's take a 20-foot shipping container. Let's go with Shane's technology. Let's go with that whole system. Let's put solar on the top of the roof and put a windmill where every 4 miles that thing is making energy, and it's storing its own. It doesn't require any draw on the grid.
Yeah, I really like that. If you build a large enough flying roof, not only can you capture the energy solar to run that, but you're also creating that shade that mitigates the amount of air conditioning that you have to use.
Well, you have to have plenty of airflow, that's for sure. Airflow's
We should do it to the point where we're going to be able to really, really utilize, because that's what the recreational people are going to want. They're going to want the unit that they can put a concrete slab in the backyard, put it back there, no one even knows it's back. Just back there, just making chronic.
right.
That's what I'm telling you. Could you imagine? I mean, back in my day, I would have paid for it. I would have paid for it to sit in my backyard and no one never ever knows. It's on a GoPro, and I can control everything off of my phone.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Do you know how awesome that would be?
a new kind of man cave.
That's a new what? Oh my God. Oh my God. But yeah, I mean, you know, they're sitting there creating their own strands. They're doing their own thing. Where now you don't have to pay for dispensary. You got your own. You're allowed to have 12 pounds.
12
When I was
12 plants?
to the normal,
12 plants. 12 plants.
That's twice as much as California.
Yeah. That's what they got
When
up here in Michigan. I'm here right now.
when I was speaking with the head of normal, he was talking about it's going to end up going down to where the small growers can make something so tasty like a fine wine. You know, that's where it's really the market will go. You know,
Yeah,
because
that was the same thing that came up in the meeting the other night up at the Zions building, which I gotta say, it was so cool to sit in the Zions founder room and see all the oil paintings of the LDS prophets on the wall and talk about cannabis. It was
Victory.
so beautiful. But you know what? They talked about that same thing is the consumer market is going to get monopolized by the big players.
right.
And that what's really going to happen is there's going to, the small players are going to have to move to a craft market.
Exactly.
And that is
Do that.
exactly tailored to our product. That
That-
craft market is exactly tailored because anything that small grower can use to differentiate themselves of having the highest bespoke nutrients in their soil, having a completely natural product, all of those things, having better than certified organic natural product. That's one of the things I want to emphasize. So I consult with organic farms and permaculture and natural farmers, and organic farmers are allowed to use pesticides. They just have to use less. The name organic has been bastardized, and so I think that these niche growers, they're going to come up with their own language that's going to be able to describe the fact that they're growing as naturally as possible, that it's a better than organic product.
A true organic product.
A true organic product. That might be the words they use, a true organic product. Or, you know, a 100% natural product or something. But that's the value proposition that we're going to give these niche growers. It's kind of like the microbrewery, right?
That's exactly what it's like, a microbrewer. Everyone's got their own flavor, and all you got to do is get your flavor out. And guess what? Those big-time companies that got the large portion of the market, they're buying your product. You can't even keep enough of what they want. And guess what? They're paying top dollar for it because they're growing in volume. They're not growing with quality. But even though it is quality, but then you're talking about some high-end weed. You're talking about weed that costs $25, $30 a gram, not $10 a gram. You know, your local market is saying your average price, someone would pay, just so your average guy, the most he's going to pay is going to be $15, no more than $20 a gram. He's just going to go with the best $10 gram he got. That's how that all works out. So when you can grow that on your own, I'm telling you, that is the market right there.
Yep.
No reason to
No
pay
one's
$3.25 for that lid, right?
I'm sorry?
Sorry, it's Abraham here, Derek. Hello. I just had to chime in and say no reason to pay $3.25, $3.50 for that lid if you don't need to, right?
No reason to. You're exactly right. We're on the same page there. It's a waste of time and money.
So,
yeah.
So I would like if to wrap this up, if we could talk about, you know, next steps and introductions and participation, because, you know, the truth is here is Paul and I, we are heavily elbow grease invested in the technology. We put cash into it. We put a lot of cash into it, but we put an incredible amount of time. And so we are technology rich and cash poor. And I would love to just be able to go out and say, bang, I'm going to produce 1,000 systems next month and have those available and put all the materials together and go out and hit the market. We just don't have the funds to do that. So we need to get some influence in our company, because the cannabis market is definitely an insider game. We need an inside influencer to reach our best potential, and we need some funding. Now, I want to say Bruce, who has expressed an interest, well, maybe I shouldn't say that because he shared that with me. Maybe he didn't mean that for public consumption. Let's just say Bruce would like to be part of this in a very big way that is nearest and dearest to his highest value point as a marketing genius. But Bruce's belief is that we really only need $100,000 or $200,000 because the technology's already been developed, and the technology is the same technology across multiple platforms. So the technology doesn't change. The footprint might change a little bit. The look might change a little bit, but it's the same technology across all platforms. The base technology is. So we don't have to reinvent the wheel or anything there. That's already developed. He feels like we just need some money for sales and marketing, the presentation materials, and the ability to get in front of our users, in front of our customers. And so he doesn't feel like we need a huge infusion of cash to make this happen, but we do need some. So that's how I'd like to close up this conversation, if we could, is what's people's interest? How would they like to participate with us? Let's figure out a way to make a home for you inside of this organization that we're talking about. If there's some value.
Hey, Shane, just provide a Venmo access. Have people do what they need to. Just give them a Venmo.
We have a donation button on the Ascending Harvest site that you're welcome to put a comment with, but why don't, if you have some, if you would like to participate at that sort of level, please reach out and get a hold of me. And you can get a hold of me anytime. I'm available on the Ascending Harvest site, and my email address is real easy. It's just paul@paulhoyt.com. So you can find me anytime.
So is the tooling done for the prototype stuff already?
So here's the beautiful thing, Greg. The only thing that we have to injection mold is our pump. Every other component is off the shelf.
Wow.
So our pump is the only thing that we don't have to have a large influx of cash for the production of components. Now we need an influx of cash for inventory, because we still have to buy the stuff off the shelves to have inventory to be able to deliver systems in a timely manner, but that's not a large amount of cash. And we already have the budget. We already have the budget set aside for paying for the injection molding of our pumps, which we are in the process of doing now. And the same pumps that we're using for our humanitarian system, I actually designed that pump so that it is adjustable, so we can put it into different sized systems. The same pump has a 3-way adjustment on it, engineered into the pump.
So Shane, let me correct me if I'm wrong, but we're about 6 weeks away from having a fairly healthy supply of these pumps. To create a prototype, we could 3D design one and have it in a few days, right?
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. We can build a prototype of the cannabis system. We could have that by next week. We can.
Yes, sir. How can I help you?
and the challenge with that is that pump costs $100 instead of $135.
Yeah.
Yes, me and my wife.
That pump costs us $110, and so it's literally 100 times more expensive than the injection molded pump.
Cool.
Yes.
Well, Shane, you started to talk about next steps. So one of the next steps is, let us get back with you and see what your level of interest is. We know that people are going to play in this game with us and jump in here. Hopefully in the next week or two, we'd love for it to be somebody on this call or somebody else or somebody that you're one handshake away from knowing. Reach out to me, reach out to Shane, and let us know what you'd like to do, because we'd love to have you all on the team to go take advantage of this opportunity.
Sounds good. I appreciate you inviting me in. Thank you.
Yeah, and Derek, I know that you're on another call there, but we're going to reach out to you, and I'm eager to drive the project to get a prototype grow container created with you. Sounds like we could do that in a very short period of time.
That's what we need, I believe.
Anything else? Any recommendations from you on what we should be driving at and going for and putting a lot of energy into in the next couple of weeks?
Can you hear me? This is Derek.
Yes.
Yes. I just wanted to just drop a couple different things and some thoughts in everyone's thought process about this. In order for us to have it, be able to bring it to the market, replicable, scalable, duplicable, we got to have a blueprint done that has a stamp to it. It has to be stamped by an engineer. Dotech Engineering out of Missouri, Dr. Gonzalez and Dave is, Dave, it was Dave, I don't know what Dave's last name is, but I just call him directly, but Dave is the COO. Okay, I have direct connections. They already are working with me about designing cannabis grow houses. So I mentioned to him after I had seen this presentation, I'm like, can you do it? He says, yeah, we can make it where he can fit it inside of a 20-foot shipping container, increase the size with the same technology. And that's what you really need in order to make it saleable. Because if not, people are going to say, because when they go to buy the package, they'll buy the blueprint too. Now you can justify giving them a blueprint. It's an authentic blueprint for their system. I mean, what do you think of that?
So I think I hear you say that in addition to giving them a grow container, Rich, you also give them the specs, the engineering blueprints for the grow container that allows them to do their own modifications and allow it, and somehow increases the value of it significantly because, hey, we've got the blueprints. Is that right?
Not to mention that you're taking the same blueprint and we're going to sell it 10,000 times.
Yeah.
It's the same blueprint.
Yeah, we'd love to do that. We'd love to work with the engineering company. How do we get their contact information and take the next steps there?
I have all that. We can get onto a call. I'll connect whenever you want to connect to them. Whenever you want to connect to him, we can do that instantly, and he'll get with you, and he'll walk us through it, because that's the main thing. A lot of that stuff is all theory, but that theory's got to be put in where an engineer understands and gets a stamp on it, so we can mass produce it. Hey, Mike, how are you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing well, So that's my whole thing is if we have that blueprint, that's what a lot of people need. And then you were talking about getting it out. If it ain't people that you know initially that would be interested in it, the best way to reach the people that are looking for the product is to pay the money and go to a show.
Yeah.
4 or 5 guys there, and as they're coming down the line, you're handing out literature. That's how you get, and you go to every single cannabis show. You don't have to fit the already exists, and they already have these gatherings where they gather. The hardest part about it is getting the information of where the gathering is. And I know 3 cannabis growers that are High Time Award winner growers, but they don't grow it in the way that he grows it. So I really don't want to open up that whole theory to him, because you really don't need to. Because Doc here, he knows what he's doing. He's got it all the way down. We just got to be able to build it to the side so it goes inside of a 20-foot shipping container, because that's the smallest we could get.
Okay. Awesome. So Derek, we look forward to those introductions and that conversation, and we want to do everything we can to drive the very quick completion of our first prototype here.
Well, if you guys want to, we can, when we get over this call, Mike, you can call me, have a call. I don't know how you guys want to do it, and I'll call him because I call him on his personal cell phone, and we can really get into a conversation because he's expecting the call anyway.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah, if you guys want to jump on a call, I'd love to do that from, I can represent Aaron because I know Aaron's running around crazy. So.
Yeah, just get everyone on one call and then call me, and then I'll call him direct, and then he'll give you all of his contact information.
Who can initiate that call?
Derek would initiate it, I think.
Yeah, so we'd love to jump on the call, but I don't know how to jump on the call. Can you tell me how to?
Yeah, so what we would do is, Mike, let's say, for instance, that you would put add 3 callers to your phone line, and then call me, and then call me, and then I'll call him on his cell number.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think I've got Mike's number, so I'm pretty sure I've got Mike in my phone here. So
Okay.
I could just share Mike's number with you, and we could call Mike.
Okay, let's do that.
Okay.
And then you want to call me back, and I'll be waiting for you guys to call me and make sure he's on the line ready.
Yeah, Derek or Mike, do you have Derek's number?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, I get Derek.
Awesome. Let's do it.
I'm going to take that back. I don't know if I have Mike's number programmed into my phone. He'll have to message me with it.
I'll give it to you right now.
Mine's
You ready?
Yeah. Go ahead. I can give it to you.
216-372-5278.
Is that your number, Derek?
Yes, that's my direct cell.
Okay. And Mike, what's your number?
732-766-2239.
732-766-2239. Got it.
Yep.
Okay, well, we'll just hang up from this call. I'm going to dial Shane. I'm going to dial Michael. I'm going to dial Derek, and then we'll take it from there. All right?
Cool.
All right, thank you.
Greg and Abraham, thanks so much for joining the call. We surely do appreciate it. We will keep you posted. You're now officially part of the inner circle of taking this technology and making a good business out of it in the cannabis industry. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
And I don't know how much Chris got to hear, but Chris, if you're listening, we really appreciate you joining. Chris is very, very involved in the hemp and the CBD industry and highly value his input and connections.
Okay. Give us a few minutes.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks. We'll see you guys.
Bye.
See ya. Thanks. Bye.